Okay, update number 5, I believe. A lot has changed since update 4. It pretty much is almost like I went from no engine to everything done. It's not the case, but yeah, a lot has been done. I didn't know when to stop and make a update, so I thought I'd just finish with the entire hot side, and then I did a little bits and pieces here as I did that. So I'll kind of go over what I did. The entire hot side in this is pretty much done. Only other thing is doing like gaskets. I gotta do I have the gaskets for the manifolds. I gotta put the gaskets on for the T3 flanges, and then I have to get gaskets for the downpipes because I don't have those yet. I know some guys said screw it, they don't run it because it's it's just the exhaust. It's supposed to seal better than the V band, just the way it is. Well, by the time you weld it, you're gonna have some variance, especially with the heat. These are still pretty flat, but I don't like it. I'm just gonna put gaskets on them because it's for a set. It's like $11. So, and then I got the wastegates on. They still need the dump tubes on them, and I'm just gonna dump them out front somewhere. They have this cross brace out here, so I think I'm just gonna go along the brace on each side, have them run there, and then just go straight down to the ground. That way, I don't have to pipe into, because I already have this stuff done, so I'm not gonna really worry about it. I'm just gonna have them run down there and then shoot down right to the ground when they open up. But I guess what I'll do is I'll talk about the hot side stuff in a bit. I'm just going to talk about the little things I've been doing during that. I have coils, the D581 coils on here. I had a set, not a complete set. I had 4 of they're in boxes over here, kind of nice, the hang up system, but the 581s have the heatsink ones, they have a dwell issue. Now that doesn't necessarily mean they have the issue with the stock ECU stuff, but the guys that are running the Terminator X stuff, they've been having some latency issues with the spark and getting that set up right. And I was like, you know what, after hearing all of the horror stories on the 585s, I said screw it. I know the 581s work great. I've used them in the past, so I was just going to go to the junkyard and grab a set, and I grabbed an entire set of them. And I got one home, and that one had a broken end. It'll work just fine, but I don't like it, so I ordered one off eBay. It costs like $14 shipped to my house. So, and it's funny, you go to junkyard, I believe it's like $12. So, I mean, I could have actually ordered probably a lot of them off eBay, but got the ICT billet mounts on there. I was actually going to mount the coils for each bank on each fender there, and that side is off right now. It's actually, these are actually 3-piece fenders, front, center, and back. This one's the only one that's on currently because it's not running anything yet. But I was actually going to mount these here and then get the small block Chevy Gen 2 LT1, the engine that came in this car. I should have kept the wires, and I could have done it, but I was going to buy that set and run them because each wire with the OptiSpark system, they're kind of length exactly where they get shorter, from longer to shorter, and they actually work great if you were to mount them, because then you can do here and you have the long one back here and so on and go on, and then you can run them down there. But then also it's like with this hot side, you worry about draping wires. So what I got was these used NASCAR wires. They're from those R07 NASCAR engines from like all the Chevy engines, like Hendrick. I think they said these came off Hendrick Motorsports engine, and they're really thick. They have a good thermal covering on them, and I might actually throw another one on. They don't touch when I have them sit like this. They actually don't hit the when you were plugging them like that one is, but when you plug them in, they actually don't really touch the headers at all with this heat wrap even. But if I were to put heat wrap on there, then I could just let them just drape down and not worry about it. But those are in because those are nice and heavy duty, and they work really well. A lot of guys run them, especially like this, and they don't even fuck with it because they'll just let them rest right on the wrap and just call it a day, and they don't melt or do anything. So $38, I'm not gonna complain. What else? Got the breather in over there. I gotta get one over here. That's actually gonna go to a catch can, and then the port that's actually plugged in there is gonna be disconnected. That's gonna be blocked off, as well as the throttle body port's gonna be blocked off, and then I'm going to do a catch cans, kind of 2 catch cans on it for each side, just for the hell of it. I'll figure out where I need to put them. I might need to get some small ones and maybe mount them on each one, like over here on that fender, and maybe one over there if there's some space. But I'll figure that out later. I'm really running out of room, so I don't really have many mounting places anymore. But yeah, that's that. I think I mentioned it before, but I'll just kind of go over it again. The wastegate dumps are going to go straight to the ground. They're going to run off that cross member. They're going to go down, run both sides, go around the cross member, go straight down to the ground. So those will be also heat wrapped as well, and then shot right down to the ground. I'm not too worried about that. Those intake filters are going to be relocated. I did have the elbows on here at first, and I decided just to set them on there like that. But obviously you can tell with the radiator blowing hot air on them, it's just not a good idea. Plus you have blocked air versus if you have that open, it could be blowing towards the engine, down the engine bay and bottom of the car, back of the car, not get a little bit more airflow through here. So I have the elbows for them, and then I think what I'm gonna do is just do like a small, like the honeycomb style, right below the radiator fan, so it should be able to scoop up cold air from the bottom of the car going on the road. It's still going to be better than a lot of these OEM boxes where you have like this little 2-inch hole on the outside, but they're encased inside the engine. So that's what I'm going to do, is just do that, get rid of those, not worry about those filters, put the elbows back on, pipe straight down, and then right below the radiator, just do like the small honeycomb ones. I'll replace them every year because they're going to get caught, caked with rain, if you run through rain, dirt, dust, whatever. And I think they were like $10 a pop. So I'm like, if I'm replacing filter for $20 a year, that's maintenance. I'm not too worried about that. But I did notice something with the AC system. Let me go to this side. And I need to look it up more. Probably not gonna be a seat at all. I have the stock AC bracket available, and I was gonna run it. But these Corvette mounts are so far forward on this, I'm not even trying, are so far forward on this engine that I don't even think it's gonna fit. So I need to look at some of the older retrofit systems, and I wish, they probably do, but I haven't found it, but I wish I could find a retrofit system where it retains this location of the stock LS AC compressor location, but uses the older like Vortex small block Chevy AC compressor. They're a lot shorter. They're almost about half the length, and use that location, because if I could find that or someone made that, I think this would work out perfect. And I could still have AC. That's what I'm still working with. I have to rebuild this outside box here and get that, because these headers are a lot higher now. So rebuild that box and then get the condenser in here and get that taken care of. I'm going to put a new one in here. The old one, the fittings are just janked, so I'm not going to try to F with that. So I'm going to worry about that here shortly. I have the fuel pressure regulator mounted here. It's actually on the box, and I'm going to pull that out a little bit because the fittings here are kind of annoying to get connected. Here's fine. The bottom one already has going down to return, and I mean, you only need like a foot, not even a foot of hose, so it works really great right there. I'll route this one with a 90, come up, and then just come. I'm actually gonna put it like probably a 180 up here and just go boop right across. So yeah, same here. The wires touch barely. On this side they touch. That side they really don't touch. But this side they touch a little bit. But I might just leave them, because a lot of guys just say they don't even frick with it. If it's wrapped, they'll rest it up there. They're heavy duty, and they don't melt or do anything. So that's the update. I'm trying to think what else there hasn't. Other than that, I'm rewiring a wiring harness I got out of a 6-liter Silverado, and I'm almost done with that. It's got all fresh loom, and that'll probably be my next update video as part of that, and the ECU, and figure out where I'm gonna put the ECU on these Corvettes. They're right there in that corner, and I should have kept the mount, but the mount was really chintzy and trying to get it, so I might still set it here, but I also might lay it sideways up down here. Or even put it on this fender. Pretty much it's going to be over here somewhere. And then I have the wires long enough, because I separated every single sensor every single O2 and the coils and all that for good length. So it'll all run in the back of the car, and then I might make some rubberized C-clamps. So I don't have any here right now, but then I'll just mount it to the firewall, and then everything will drape on top of the engine and run along the rails and all that stuff and hit all the sensors, and that'll look nice. I did get a body harness. The one on here I screwed up when I was taking the engine out. I was getting way ahead of myself, and I accidentally cut that, and I was going to rewire it, but there was probably about 30 wires or 40 wires that I have to do, and I was looking up, and Mark Corvette had a whole entire harness for a 92 Corvette for $39.99, 40 bucks. So I'm like, I'm not even worth it to screw with it. I'm just gonna pull this whole harness out and slap the new one in. And then that way too is I can actually, because there's a few items on that harness that tie into the car for like the tack and all that stuff. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna keep the stock dash in this. It would be cool, but I'm starting to turn into just putting a bezel in there and running my own custom gauges, which seems to be a more thing, but it's still, everything runs through here. So what I was going to do is just kind of tie some of the ECU PCM stuff into this harness, just kind of keep it nice and clean. But I know some people asked about the travel on the A-arm here. There's about 2 inches or so of travel on the very bushing part of the top connecting arm. If I'm hitting this pipe from this bar, I'm off-roading this car. So if that hits, I'm driving out of my mind off-road, or I hit the biggest pothole, or I went into a sinkhole, and at that point I don't even care at that point if everything's damaged, if I fall into a freaking sinkhole. And that side's the same way, it goes right over the bushing. Actually, the other side is a lot closer. You over here, or tighter to the car, so there's a lot. A couple guys mentioned these bushings might get hot, especially this one, because it's really close. Here. So what I'm gonna actually do probably is make a cover that snaps on to these mounts, and it'll just ride on here. So what it'll do is it'll be a hole cut here, and it'll be a metal plate with a heat shielding on it, and it'll just kind of contour down here, and then it'll wrap around the bushing on the back side, and then that'll keep that nice and cool. This is probably the only annoying part. I think all these other ones will be fine, but that one's definitely probably gonna get semi-warm. I know a lot of these guys that do this is an actual DEI wrap, not that cheap China fake titanium wrap that's still fiberglass, but it's pretty much colored. This is like the real deal, and I've done both. I'm never going back after I will spend the money for the DI stuff. It is so nice. But I've seen guys grab this after driving, and they're just like, yep, it's fine. And, you know, with that bushing and stuff, and this is actually moving a bit. Oh, it's way off. So yeah, it's very close to that bushing. I wonder if I could, oh, this might still need to be adjusted as well. I think that's off a little bit, so I can be lifted up. But yeah, it's a tight fit through here. I tried to get as tight as I could, but I think I might just make some heat shield covers for this and then not worry about it, which will be nice because then it can, when the A-arm goes up, the heat shield stays with it, it moves with it, and it won't hit anything. So other than that, that's the update. The next one, like I said, will probably be engine harness, computer going in. I need to get the map sensor, I'm going with 6-liter flex fuel injectors. The last digits are 412. I just call them 412s. They're 42 pound at 43 psi, and they're 50 pound at 58 psi. And this car is going to be set up for basically 500 wheel, aka 600 crank horsepower, and it's going to be limited to not only the injectors, it's going to be limited to these turbos, because these are small T3 turbos. They're a little bit smaller than GT35. So when you're pushing past, 650, 700, you are at the limit. You're going to start really creating a lot of back pressure. The fuel pump in the back is going to be a 340 LPH. fuel pump, which are good for about, again, on pump gas, 600 horsepower. The Dana 44, I wouldn't want to go past 600 horsepower in Dana 44. You can, but I wouldn't want to do that. And, you know, stock 4L80 with the HD2 kit. So this car is going to be built for 600 crank. Low, maybe 500, lower 500 wheel horsepower, but this is a 600 horsepower crank car, which is great because a lot of the parts that to do this are very inexpensive. The injectors, the OEM Delphi injectors on this thing are like 45 bucks. And anything once you start, I feel like right now, I feel like if you go anything over the setup, you start paying a lot more. So if you do like 60-pound injectors or 80-pound injectors, other than decaps, I understand. By the time you still do decaps and send them in, you're still about $120 to $130 back versus $45 for OEM stock 50-pound injectors. And then these turbos, I made a joke, a spoof video of Sloppy Mechanics, and these turbos are legit $76 a piece turbos. I did get them on sale from a guy on eBay. They're brand new. And then, you know, this car is set up to be budget build, street car, AC, heater, all this stuff, make it fit in this small space, which is insane. I have no more room anymore, and not break the bank versus like, hey, I'm gonna put 80-pound or 120s or injectors in here. I'm gonna put GT35s. A Dana 44 would probably handle 800 horse or more. I just don't like the past 600. And you could do like an 8.8 rear independent suspension on this, because that's what these cars are, is rear independent suspension, or rear independent suspension. And you could do that, but then the price is exponentially more versus this. And I had a budget of about $8,000 on this car, and that is the entire car. That is the interior, that is the paint, that is the engine, transmission, the whole entire drivetrain, wheels, tires, anything that I have to spend money on this car to make it look like a street strip car with nice paint and look also like a stock Corvette. That is the cost of the car. Now, of course, I've sold stuff on the car that helps, but that is the budget of the car versus I'm not going to paint it. Reuse the stock wheels and put good tires on them. That's not it. It's gonna have a roll cage in it, you know, a removable 6-point, 4-point bolt in with door bars on each side that are removable. Kirky seats, ozite carpet, and all that stuff. So this is about right. If I were to change it and I would have said, hey, this is gonna be an 800 wheel horsepower car, or more, or, you know, even 700, 750, the price would have probably been another $3 to $4,000. And I wasn't going to spend over $10,000 on this car. So this is what I'm doing. And that is the update. I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I've already rambled on enough on this. And I will make another update once I get the harness done and a couple of the other stuff. I got to get a flywheel yet for that. Got to stop and pick that up. 20 bucks for the 4L80 with the spacer on it. Starter to get that going. And then hopefully this thing can fire up by the end of July, maybe beginning of August. So that is the update, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.